It can be noticed that wrongdoings, misconducts, malpractice, misbehaviors are all done in the dark, usually, right? It's done in a hidden way. It's done in secret when, quote unquote, no one is looking, when it's not open to the public, when it's private, when it's secluded and isolated. Now, for little kids, we can also observe this, right? When mommy or daddy is not looking, they do naughty things or they misbehave or they do stuff that they know they shouldn't do, right? And in the same way, you can say that that's generally how humans are. If, quote unquote, no one is watching, we revert to this kind of substandard behavior, meaning we can observe that phenomenon, right? Like also in work settings, when the supervisor or manager is not there, then the workers can slack off. When no one is looking or checking, then the, let's say, contractors or workers will tend to get away with what they can get away with. There is that kind of tendency to be in that toddler like mentality, to get away with something, to do something that you're not supposed to do, or to slack off, to be a toddler, or to game the system, do corrupt things, right? Now, that same person, let's say, or same worker, when people are looking, or let's say when the manager is there or the supervisor is there, then suddenly they act very differently. They started performing, they started doing what they're actually supposed to do because it's now open to the public. It's not anymore private, it's not enclosed, right? It's opened. It's not anymore secret or hidden. Or the instances where we hear about people who are very different off cam and on cam. It's like they're two completely different people when the camera is not rolling and all their unpleasant behavior shows up, right? Now, I noticed that we can use this mechanism in a practical way. You know, the principle here seems to be hidden, private. We become disconnected. We become the ego coming from a place of lack and being immature and being like a toddler and being in that burdensome doership, because it's cut off, right? There is the myopia, there's the privatization and limitedness to that. But when we are in the public eye, then we tend to present better. For the people who misbehave, they tend to behave. Or for, let's say, criminals, when they are in the public eye, they wouldn't do those criminal acts, right? So those things, those quote unquote negative things are done in this secretive, hidden, private, personal context. So to apply this, to make this practical, an example would be when I was about to do some chores and there's the sense of laziness of doing it. Like, I don't want to do it. It's no fun. I couldn't make myself do it. But then I imagine or pretend that there's a camera recording, that I'm streaming, that I'm streaming it, right? And in that pretension, in that imagination that I'm streaming this activity or this is being recorded, the atmosphere changes. The atmosphere changed, right? The context now changed from this privatized, restricted ego doership realm to now in this more expanded place because there's like another pair of eyes watching or looking. You notice how your body will move to action. will move to quote unquote perform, will move to quote unquote productivity, right? And it's much effortless compared to being the ego doership and dragging yourself to do the chores and begrudging it the whole time period that you're doing it. If there's the sense or if there's the recognition that, oh, this is being recorded or this is being streamed, then there's the kind of sense of purpose or fun to it, even. You know how streamers, they just do whatever and they just stream themselves, right? And in that stream, they are productive. They are in performance, you can say. And they earn from that. That's their source of income. Just streaming, just doing whatever and streaming themselves. I find it interesting because I've mentioned the word stream in my previous videos. And the stream is ongoing, it's running. It's an ever existing runningness or isingness, right? So it's already in ongoingness compared to the ego doer, which comes from a place of lack and notness, right? And therefore it's so effortful and it feels disconnected. And I have to do it. It's like from a place of notness, trying to get there, trying to get to isness. Right? But with stream, it's not the case. It's already ongoing. It's in perpetual isingness, perpetual worryingness. And there's no question with the validity, right? Compared to the ego doer again, which comes from a place of notness, not valid, not worthy, not complete, etc. Those concerns, those notness stuff is not a thing for the stream. It's already existing. It's unquestionably valid. It's official, it's legitimized. Again, as opposed to how the ego feels. There's a sense of disconnected from that. Like there's something wrong. This is invalid. There's a sense of like not legitimate, like illegitimacy or something. And so you go out and try to prove yourself, achieve things, please people, get approval, etc. Right? Because it's coming from that place of notness, invalidity, illegitimacy, unofficialness. It feels like there's some kind of wrongness or something. And so anyway, when it comes to stream, those things are already not a thing. It's already ongoing, it's already running, therefore it's already legit, it's already valid, it's already official, you can say. You know how the programs or the streams on TV, they're already running. They are already an official channel. They're already streaming and they're already ready to be tuned into by the viewers according to their choice. And so the idea of stream, we can use that to our advantage. You know, it's a practical tool or idea when we find ourselves in a place of, I don't want to do this, or I'm so lazy to do this. But then you have to do it. With the example I gave a while ago of doing chores, you can test this out yourself. Imagine that there's a camera recording, or you're streaming, or this is being streamed. And so the atmosphere changed, right? Like when something's private compared to when the camera is on and you're being streamed, it's a different atmosphere, right? It's a different sense. One is close and private, and you revert into a lazy toddler, as opposed to when the camera is rolling, you can say, then performance comes out of you, you know? The body springs into action. Right now, there's a kind of sense of purpose to it. a kind of productivity, a kind of this is being streamed, so this has purpose to it. And again, if you're a streamer, if that is your source of income, then there's actual monetary reward that you can get from that. Right. So it's up to our imagination how we see or how we define the context, of the stream, right? This reminds me of the phrase get on with the program. When there's a sense of stuckness or a sense of walking back and forth and again being stuck, it's like you're not hopped on the river. You are like walking back and forth along the riverbank. You are not part of it. You're not belonged. You have excluded yourself from the stream, from the river. There's a separation. You have separated yourself. And so then you're not quote unquote part of the flow. There's a sense of stuckness. You're preoccupied with notness ideas. And so when you say get on with the program, it's like get on with it, hop on the boat or jump in the river. And the river does the work. It's already running, it's already ongoing. You just get on with it, get on with the program. And what's interesting is that program is also the word used, right, for TV shows, for streams, for channels. So again, the stream or the program is already ongoing. It's already in broadcasting, running. And we can use that to be, you could say, part of it for a sense of productivity, let's say. Basically, it's what happens when we let go of notness. When we cease the preoccupation with notness ideas, walking back and forth in the riverbank, or perhaps holding on to some debris or rock, right? And then once we let go of that, then we get taken along in the river. Now, this makes me think that that's also one of the functionality of water or river, right? It washes things away. And so we don't get the chance, let's say, to spend time preoccupying ourselves with, let's say, some dirt or some, I don't know, a branch of a tree, because it's already being washed away by the water. It's already being taken along, you know. It's already moving along instead of clamping over it. And it's like while you're in there in the river, you wouldn't preoccupy yourself with that branch anymore. It's like it's not a concern. There's the context here that's, let's say, more purposeful compared to preoccupying yourself with the branch. The ongoingness of a river, let's say, brings you joy. It brings you this connected sense. It's the one that contains the goodness, you know? It's like your resource or source of goodness, of isness, of action, of productivity, etc. Right? Because basically the stream is isness, right? Ongoingness. And of course, the isness of goodness is contained in here, in isness, in ongoingness, not in notness. What notness contains is notness. The ego withholds itself from the river, and so what it's preoccupied with is notness. So yeah, you can be creative with this. You can use your imagination. You can define the stream or the context. Like, for example, before you go out the house, before you step out the door, set an intention. And again, with the camera trick, or pretend that you're streaming or or there's a camera recording. Set the context if you want to play around with this. You know how streamers take on a character when they stream, and then they go out and record being in that character, right? And so they're living that character. They're in that stream. They are, you can say, using the mileage of that stream, of that broadcast, of that frequency. There was this one time I was walking out in the street, and I saw a disheveled homeless man. And I thought, what if I come from that place? What if I walk coming from that place? Right? Because as a female being outside, I don't know in other countries, but in this country, there's a sense of unsafety every time you walk outside as a female, especially when it's nighttime. And so I thought, what if I come from that place, of a disheveled homeless man who has no care in the world, who has zero care about what other people think, or if you're being stared at, he has no care. What if I come from that place? And so I did, and I noticed that from a kind of guardedness or restrictedness, there was a sense of expansion. What's interesting that the reference that I took quote unquote inspiration from is a disheveled homeless man. But then it moved me from a place of contractedness to expandedness. But of course, it depends on the context. It's because the context where I'm coming from is that I'm a female and this is a dangerous world. There are creeps and it's not safe. So from that idea to a position, let's say to a reference point, that's different from that. Meaning from a female point reference point to a dude's reference point, which is more uncaring. There's not that sense of unsafety that women feel on this planet. And so there was a kind of expandedness. I just find it interesting that no matter what the, let's say, avatar looks like, we can map our consciousness awareness onto whatever reference to come from or tune into. Another example, I can say, it was nighttime, and there's a gang of kids, probably around 10 to 12 years old. And there's a gang of them. And I was carrying something. So they're coming after me with their hands reaching out. So they were gonna mug me, basically. And instead of cowering or trying to run away or buying into the role or the position of victimization, right? Oh, I'm a victim. I'm gonna get mugged. I just stood my ground without changing my position, my stance, my posture. And I just said in a firm way, don't come near, don't touch me. And with that, they dispersed. They retracted their hands and they just, you know, they didn't bother me. But I could imagine that if I buy into, let's say, the role of, oh, I'm helpless, I'm a victim, and I shrink or try to run away from them, the more that they're gonna come after me. Because you can say cooperated with the dynamic, with the role, because they're there, right? Trying to mug you. So you can say that the role that they chose is already being a perpetrator, right? A thief, a mugger. So you can say that's the one side of the coin that they have taken on. Now, the other side of the coin of that is, of course, being mugged, being a victim, right? So it's kind of like an offer if you're going to take on the other side of the coin, if you're going to take on that role, if you're going to buy into the prey position. It's like the circumstance presents itself, right? Oh, let's say there are muggers, there are predators. And it's like an offer if you take on the partner position, which is the prey. And that's the thing, luckily, I didn't take that on. And I stood my ground and proclaimed, declared my position. Don't come near, don't touch me. Well, fortunately, it worked. Because with these kinds of folks, the more you shrink yourself, the more you act like you're helpless and then you try to run away from them, the more that you're a prey in their eye, the more that they're gonna come after you. It's kind of like animals, if you run, in the neural connection in the animal's brain is that, oh, you're a prey, I'm gonna catch you. That's the association or connection in their minds. I remember also this one time I saw a foreigner and he was running and a group of, again, street children, or I'm not sure if they're part of a syndicate, and they're running after him. So he was running away. And in these kids' minds, oh, he's running away. He's a prey. We're going to catch him. It's like the more you run away, the more they they want to come after you. And so it's more helpful and it will serve us to not bite that bait, to still choose and stand their ground. Now, having said that, what's tricky about saying things like this is circumstances may vary. And of course, do not deliberately put yourself in danger. That's common sense. But if you're put in that situation, it will serve us to not bite the bait of being a prey or being a victim. It's an offer, even though the circumstance tells you that, oh, you should be a victim, you should be a prey, because everything, all the appearance surrounding you is telling you that you should be that, right? The more you will be, the more that you, let's say, get in trouble. So if we, step back, stand our ground, the more that we can come from a place of rationality, the more that we can be served, the more that we can function, the more that we can take the right action. Now, going back to the idea of the stream can be used as our point of power. So instead of basing our position based on the circumstance around us, and then participating in that, cooperating, consenting to that, and acting that way. You know how, like, when we were young and our circumstance tells us to be this way, to be that way, and then we just agree with it, and we just participate and cooperate and acquiesce because we don't have a backbone yet. We haven't, gotten our power back yet. And so we place authority out there, right? We we give in, we cooperate, we buy into whatever idea the outer circumstance is imposing on us, right? We don't have our own decision, we could say. But again, as an adult, now we do. Now we can. Now we can choose. Choosing the stream is not reliant on outer circumstance. Again, even if outer circumstance tells you or present something to you which baits you into taking on, let's say, the position or the role that they're trying to get you to buy into. Now, when we choose the stream, it's no longer the dictator. We are with the stream. You know, we are, how can you say this? We are already being fed by the stream. There's a sense of goodness. There's a sense of purpose, sense of wholeness with the stream. And that's what fills you. For example, you're in a situation and you're being bribed. You're being incentivized to do something that's beyond your principles. That's against your values and principles. Now, if you're someone who's not fed, who's in that restricted egoic place, then you're like an animal. You're incentivized by rewards, by supply, You give in to bribes, even though it's against your morality or something, but because there's reward, I'll take it. You want to be fed. You're in that animalistic place. You know how cats are or dogs. They're trainable as long as you give the reward. They are hyper focused on that specific sense of reward or stimulation or feeding, right? But when you decided to be in the stream, let's say, to have the stream opened, quote unquote, if it's not congruent, with your choice of stream, then it's a mismatch. Then you wouldn't take the bribe. It's not a filling, it wouldn't fill you any more than the stream already does. It's not a feeding. How you perceive it is that, oh, it's not a match. It doesn't belong, it doesn't belong in the stream. It's not part of the quote unquote performance. It's kind of like a recipe or creating a dish. If an ingredient is not part of the recipe or doesn't match the dish, you wouldn't touch it, right? You wouldn't put it in there. It's not belonged. It's not a match, right? It's not part of the art, you can say.